Welcome to More Than a Casserole, a podcast dedicated to empowering, educating, and engaging people to get more comfortable talking about death and providing holistic support to those who are going through the dying process. I'm your host, Michael Carpenter, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Sonya Koenig and Pastor Emma Frazier with Texas Doula Movement. Excited to have another great episode talking about death and supporting people through the dying process.
Thank you.
So for those who don't know, explain, what is Texas Doula Movement?
Texas Doula Movement is an organization that teaches and trains individuals on how to give holistic support to those that are going through the dying process and to their families. And we also teach and train pastors, chaplains, and church leaders on how they can give support to those that are dying as well. Because when a person dies, the church is awesome. The church is there to support the family when the individual is dead. But when the person is going through the dying process, a lot of times the church is absent. So we work with individuals and we work with pastors, churches, church leaders, businesses, organizations, and just teaching them on how they can give support to individuals that are dying. And as the CEO and founder of Texas Doula Movement, I have been an end-of-life doula for over 30 years. And I've had many, many opportunities to work with individuals that are dying. And I've had many opportunities to work with churches and church leaders and see how their lack of knowledge on how to support individuals makes it very difficult for families. And so at Texas Doula Movement, we want to make sure that we train and teach, educate you, empower you, help you engage, and just show you what to do to work with someone that's going through the dying process.
And I'm Pastor Emma Jane. I am the outreach pastor for Whole Life Christian Church West, San Antonio, Texas, and the education director for Texas Doula Movement. And I've had over 40 years of experience, even before it was called a doula. I would sit with those that were passing. Oftentimes in our church and in our community, they would say, don't let Emma Jane come visit you because that means you're dying. Because when someone was dying, they would call me to come in. They said that I brought in peace. And that's what they were looking for. Right. The family members as well as the person that was dying, they were looking for an environment of peace to eradicate or reduce that sense of fear that people often have about death, because death is so unknown. There's nobody that's ever come back from death and said, oh, it feels like this. Oh, this happened. So because it's an unknown environment or experience, people are fearful of it. But death is just an extension of life, but it's another phase of life. So it's something that Jesus prepared his disciples for. And we believe at Texas Doula Movement that pastors should prepare their congregations for death and that they should experience what it's like preparing for death, meaning getting their own affairs in order so that they can feel comfortable talking to their congregants and all.
That's great. So today we're going to be talking about, if someone has hospice, why would they need a death doula? And so talk about what a doula is and why you need one. If someone is in a terminal illness situation, there are structures like hospice, but why would they need someone like you guys or a pastor who's been trained, as a doula to come in and support them?
Okay, a doula is a Greek term, and it just simply means to give support to an individual. Everybody has heard of birth doulas, postpartum doulas, and usually a doula was working with women giving support to other women. Well, in modern day time, now we have a lot of men that are also doulas. And so as an end-of-life doula, we work with individuals that are going through the dying process and with their families. Now, we have a joke in our family. My sister is a postpartum doula and a birth doula. I'm an end-of-life doula. She helps bring them in the world. I help take them out of the world. And so as a doula, we give support to individuals that are either birthing or dying. And then you have different other types of doulas, like pet doulas and menopause doulas. So there are a lot of different types of doulas that are around.
And as aid to hospice agencies or hospice facilities, we're there to support not only the person that may be passing, but also to be a support to those hospice representatives. If I may, for an example, I was called in to a hospice facility. At that time, I was working as a mental health therapist at this agency, and I was called into the hospice, which was upstairs, because this gentleman was dying and the family was there. They had all of the hospice support, but the hospice support was busy working with someone else that was also in that imminent phase of dying. So all I did was talk to the wife and help her to feel comfortable because the patient was non-responsive. And she began to share with me that she had never slept away from her husband, and it felt just really odd for him to be laying in the bed, and here she is sitting in the chair. You know, they just, in their many years of marriage, they had never been separated in intense moments, you know. So I suggested to her, well, get up in the bed. Just lay there with him. And it gave her peace. Well, the hospice support system that was there, like I said, they were occupied with other patients because I was there as, didn't call them doulas then, but I was there as a doula doing doula work. I was able to encourage her so that she could find peace. And you could, when she laid down beside her husband, you could actually see the change in his posture. Although he was non-responsive, but there was a relaxing in his body language. And she laid there with him. They kind of drifted off to sleep, but it was just a quiet moment. Well, hospice was there to give him meds if he became overly anxious or if he was gagging and all. The chaplain was there if she needed some spiritual advice, but they were busy. So that's what the end-of-life doula does to assist hospice servants or hospice agencies, just to be there for those moments when they can't be there, to spend the time, to hold space. The wife needed someone just to talk to, not provide any physical service, no spiritual service, so to speak. She just needed someone to hold space that she could talk to. And that's what I was there for.
Wow. Sonya, I want you to share your journey into being a doula and your very first death. I think you remember telling me it was Mr. Morgan. I want you to tell Mr. Morgan's story and how you were able to help him in his hospice situation.
Well, I have been with Mr. Morgan for 7 years, took care of him for 7 years. And at some point, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness. He had brain cancer. And before hospice came in the picture, he was my very, very first patient or individual for end-of-life care. And before hospice came into the picture, I was able to give him the support he needed non-medically. And then we got to a point with the terminal illness and we had to call hospice in. And I started seeing how hospice was there. They were awesome. They did their part. But there were times when hospice was not able to be there because they're only allowed so many, like an hour to 2 hours or so, some of them 45 minutes, to be in the patient's home. And so by me being there, I was able to give him the support that he needed. I was able to talk to him about his dying. And one of the things that he said to me, he was adamant that I want you to talk to me about me dying while I'm alive, because once I'm dead, you can't talk about me. It's too late. And so being there for him when hospice couldn't be there was a support to him. I was the extra eyes and ears for hospice, so that if I saw that there was something not going right for him, he was in more pain, or I don't know, just not feeling well, then I was able to report that to the hospice. There are times when family is involved, and family, they don't know, they can't recognize if mom or dad is in pain. They think that, why are they not comfortable? Well, as an end-of-life doula, and what we teach our students is, well, it might mean that they're in pain. And mom, the family just think they're uncomfortable, but we recognize that they're in pain. And so by having an end-of-life doula involved, it helps the family, and it helps the individual get that extra support. And just like with Mr. Morgan, I was able to give him, he was my very first, and I was able to give him the support and care and comfort that he needed, along with the hospice agency. We worked together. I was not employed by the hospice, but we worked together, and I was able to be a support to him as well as be a support to the hospice.
Talk about the time commitment it takes to do this, right? So we're talking, mainly to church leaders, spiritual leaders who are going to be supporting their community and their churches through this, right? So these are people who already have a lot of other obligations in terms of serving their community. So, how much time do you really need to be able to give to someone who's in the dying process? And how can you make even a limited amount of time that you have available to support someone really worth it?
Well, basically, it's an individual schedule. You have to determine how much time that you can give to a patient, give to a family. Some people are willing to put them in their schedule, get up in the middle of the night. Hospice can't always be there in the middle of the night. But as an individual, you may have the opportunity to be there in the middle of the night. There have been times when I have gotten up and stayed late, or I've had to spend the night with a patient. But it's a personal thing. We never tell our students to overstress yourself. Don't forget you have family. We stress doula wellness. You take care of yourself so that you can take care. Emotionally, financially, physically, socially, you make sure that you put balance in your life. So we can't say that, okay, every doula has to dedicate an hour. Because I may not have an hour today. I may have an hour tomorrow, but I may not have an hour today. Or if I don't have children, I don't have other responsibilities, I can devote all day. Sonya donated 75 hours, but she had that time. I would not be able to give someone 75 hours. Why? Because I have other things on my schedule. So it's really an individual schedule. But the first thing is taking care of yourself as a doula so that you can give to someone else.
We understand that pastors, let's say pastors, and we'll do church leaders later, but pastors have so much on their plate that they're involved in and that they have to do. And so a lot of times pastors are not able to go and spend a lot of time with someone because they also have families of their own that they need to take care of. And so our program, More Than a Casserole, is where we teach individuals, we teach the pastors and the church leaders how to be able to go and support. A pastor may not be able to, but he may have someone in his church, that a church leader that needs to be trained on how to give support. Now, I am a church leader at my church, And we had a family, not my family member, but my church family member, and she was ill. She was passing away. And my pastor called me and he said, "Hey, Sonya, can you go over and let's call her Maria? Can you go over to see Maria and spend some time with her and to help her out?" I'm like, "Sure, of course I can." And so, because for me, I am an end of life doula and I still practice as an end of life doula. And so when I get a call, I respond, and my schedule allows me to do that. And so after my pastor called me, I responded to the home to be there with the lady and her family, with Maria and her family. I was able to spend a lot of time with her. And then her son, because he and his wife had just had a brand new baby, and they were also taking care of their mother who was dying of a terminal illness. Mm-hmm. And they needed some time, just the two of them, some time alone. And so he came to me and he called me and asked me, "Hey, can you come and sit with my mom while we go, run some errands?" And so I was able to go and sit with her. So like Pastor Emma Jane said, we don't tell how much time, but we encourage, take care of yourself so that you can be able to go and support someone else and give them the time that they need, because you may only be needed for 30 minutes or you might be needed for an hour, Mm-hmm. And so as a church leader myself, that is my job, is to go out when I get called, so I allow to have the time.
Do y'all help equip whole churches, right? So what if a ministry had a volunteer team and could y'all come in and teach a whole group of people, right?
Yes.
So maybe you could take shifts, right? And people are taking shifts to support a family or individuals going through the dying process, right? So if it's a community family effort, that's something that, are y'all able to provide that service?
Yes. As a matter of fact, let me move this a little bit here. We have a program that it's called More Than a Casserole. And this program, it's a 4-week, 5-week, because the 5th week is a celebration week. But it's a 4-week training that we go into the church and we teach the church how, and maybe about 4 people in the church, and we teach them how they can give support, holistic support to individuals that are going through the dying process. And we also, at the same time, the 4 individuals that are attending the program, we teach them how to get their end-of-life affairs in order so that they can go into their congregation and teach those in their congregation how to get their end-of-life affairs in order, and those in their community. So we do have a program that is geared to going into churches and working with churches.
Oh, okay. That's incredible. So there's a support for individuals learning how to take care of their own affairs. There's support for church leaders who need that information to be able to provide support, and then also helping the community. So all 3 layers of are, as a society, you guys are able to equip people.
Yes.
Okay, I love that.
And what we focus on as a support to hospice, a support to churches, we focus on holding space, creating a legacy, and then we teach how to provide respite for family members, caregivers, or whoever is in charge. Because taking care of someone that's dying or being there for someone that's dying, it is so emotionally resource intense. The stress level goes up, the anxiety goes up, the emotional energy that you have to put out as you deal with the individual and you deal with the family can be overwhelming. So caregivers and family members need respite. They need a time.
What does respite mean?
It's a time of relaxation, time to get away, an escape time, so to speak. But believe it or not, the patient, the person that's dying, oftentimes they need a respite from their family so that they can have the peace to go through what their body is taking them through, and not having someone picking at them emotionally, picking at them physically. Are you all right? Do you need, just kind of all the things that we think are necessary to help someone that is in that stage of dying. They need a respite also. So we can come in, hold space, give them respite from their family, from their environment, bring in a totally different environment for them, a totally different atmosphere for them. So we teach the importance of providing respite.
Okay.
So in answer to your question, I know we gave a long explanation of things, and your question is, I have hospice, why do I need a death doula? Because we're extra. We are an extra support for the family. We're an extra support for the hospice agency. Because a lot of hospice agencies, they've never heard of an end-of-life doula. And they don't even see how an end-of-life doula fits in. And we had the pleasure of meeting with a hospice agency about a couple of weeks ago, and we introduced our end-of-life program to them. They never heard of an end-of-life doula. And they saw the value of having an end-of-life doula part of the hospice team, And so we not only will train individuals, if there's hospice agencies that would like to have an end-of-life doula in their program with their organization, then we'll be able to train their people on how to give non-medical, because hospice deals with medical. And we deal with non-medical, because there is a difference.
Yeah, what were the 4 things that y'all hit that y'all talk about?
The holistic support. We deal with physical. We provide physical support, psychosocial support, emotional support, and spiritual support. And in doing that, we do hold space, help you create a legacy, and then we provide respite.
Love that. As we kind of close out here, what are y'all's thoughts on legacy? What's something practical somebody could do today to build a legacy or make space for their legacy?
If you have a picture album, and the older generation, we believe in photo albums start writing snippets under it. Just a little bit here, a little bit there, so that in our family, we've got all these pictures and we're trying to figure out, well, who is that? We didn't realize that we had 125 years of military experience in the family until somebody died. And we start seeing pictures. Well, who is that in that uniform? Oh, he was in the military. But you can start doing that. You can start writing letters to your grandchildren. As Sonya shared, when she got married, or before she got married, her mother-in-law-to-be, who was dying, wrote a letter to her son for when he got married, because she wasn't going to be there to give the mother's blessing. So she wrote the mother's blessing out so that it could be read. So it's things like that. You can have stories that you can write. You can do videos. You can do all kind of things to let the generations after you know about you.
That's good.
And one of the things I always say is leave a legacy for your family in preparing for your end-of-life affairs. We are planning, rather. We created this book, and this book is a book where you can go and write down all the necessary information, important information your family would need to know to get your end-of-life affairs in order. And by you filling out this book and preparing it for your family, you're leaving them a legacy of information, a legacy of complete. And not only does it just stop with you when you die, this is something that can carry on, because they have learned through mama, through daddy, then granny, through opa, that, oh, you know what? I need to get my end-of-life affairs in order. I need to write this stuff down for my family. So because opa made the decision to fill this booklet out, then the next child that sees, well, daddy did this, so let me do this. And then the grandchild, opa did this, so let me do that. And opa is leaving a legacy for his children, for his grandchildren. And at my church, we say, think 3. So think of 3 generations down, that because you took the time to fill out this book to get your end-of-life affairs in order, then now the next 3 generations in your life, of your family, have taken the time to make it easier for their family, because death is going to be hard on all of us. But do you want them to mourn and stress over, well, where's this document? Where's that document? How do I do this? How do I do that? Or do you want them to be able to mourn and know that I just take this book with me to the funeral home and everything is in there? Go to the insurance company to get the end of life insurance stuff. Everything is in here. I don't have to go figure it out. Give them the less stress so that they can mourn and not sit there and stress and try to find paperwork.
Oh, that's good. So just in a quick recap, you have the opportunity as a church leader, as someone who's a part of a community, to get equipped as an individual, how to take care of your own end-of-life affairs, but also for those around you, the church you go to, the community center you go to, whatever it is, you can be equipped to help support others and their family through end-of-life care. And we have a lot of amazing resources, books. Y'all have a website. Y'all do webinars. So there's lots of ways that Texas Doula Movement can help support you. And so, Sonya, as we're ending, what are the ways people can get a hold of you guys to get more information or to purchase your courses or your resources?
Well, to get a hold of us, not just churches, but also hospice agencies, individuals, you can call us at 210-400-0540, or you can email us at carebeyond@Texas Doula Movement. That's TXDOULAMVMNT. Or you can go to our website at www.texasdoulamovement.com to find out more information about us and to be able to schedule appointments with us to sit down and talk to us so that we can be there for you and help you to get your end-of-life affairs in order and to train you, your church, or your hospice agency on how they can be a support to individuals that are going through the dying process.